I'm here today with Alicia Petrakis with I'm going to make sure I get this right. It is Par 3 Restaurant at Poplar Creek
Correct.
Golf Course,
Yes.
which is at Coyote Point in San Mateo, correct?
Right. People do get confused. You
Yes.
know, I think it's because most people think of this area as Coyote Point. So
Right.
when you say you're out at the golf course, a lot of people also think, which is amazing to me, that this is a private club.
Oh,
Even though it's been here for 23 years, this summer will be when they opened it, that people still think this is a private golf course and that only members can eat at the restaurant.
oh wow.
I know,
Well,
it's shocking.
it. Okay, so there's something that
There's something
that we
new, yeah.
people just know. We want you to stop by the restaurant for
Right.
sure, but if you want to come and play a few rounds of golf, you can definitely do that.
Absolutely.
Right.
And what's so nice is there's, all the bay trails are here. There's 120 acres of open space here and here. So where can you really get that on the peninsula?
Right. That's it. I mean, right now, you're looking around here, I kind of feel like I'm way out in the country somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the benefit of one being over on this side of the freeway, even though sometimes people forget about us. It is almost like you have left the area. Besides, going way over to the coast, which is a bit of a challenge now, I guess.
Right.
There are very few places you can come and really feel like you're getting away from kind of the hustle and bustle of being on the peninsula.
Right. Yeah. And it's so easy to get off the freeway here, too. So it's a convenient location.
Yeah, easy on Peninsula Avenue, off. I mean, it's really the access if you're meeting friends from whether it's San Francisco or East Bay or South Bay, it's very centrally located. So it works really well for visitors as well.
Cool. So I know we're going to talk about the restaurant a little bit, but I wanted to kind of get the backstory.
Sure.
You and I have known each other for
20 plus, probably.
Probably ever since I've been in real estate.
Yeah.
So
Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
Was probably when we started, which now is going on probably close to 20 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know kind of your backstory, but give me your backstory. Like, how did you get started in the restaurant industry, and how did you end up here at Par 3?
Okay, I'll try and make it really quick.
Just a short one.
It's about a 30-year story.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Right.
I started out really having a total infatuation with both my dad and my grandmother, who spent a lot of time in the kitchen. Both were Armenian.
Okay.
And so sort of the roots of my understanding about food and family and entertaining comes from those times spent in that kitchen. My grandmother grew a lot of things. That was how she was raised. And so one of my foundations has always been using ingredients with integrity and knowing my vendors and knowing where my food source comes from.
Right.
So I was in your business for 10 years. I was a commercial real estate broker, and a client that I found a space for that was in the food and beverage business offered me a job because he knew I wanted to get into it, was very entrepreneurial, and saw that I wanted to do something and allowed me to start my own catering business while I was working for him.
Wow. Okay.
And so I had that catering business for 8 years. My first kitchen was right over here at the Coyote Point Yacht Club.
Oh, the yacht club out there.
For 3 years.
Oh, wow.
We were there, and sort of, became a business member of San Mateo at that time, was involved in the chamber and nonprofits and working with all of them. And then in 2003, we bought the restaurant from Poplar Creek on 3rd Avenue in the old Ben Franklin.
Oh, right.
So that was almost 20 years ago. And we started out with my 4 loves, which is Spain, Italy, Greece, and France.
Okay.
And it was a little bit of an uphill battle, going from being a caterer to owning a restaurant, especially one that size.
Right.
I loved the food there. People really responded well to it. And then '08 hit, and we decided to switch gears and go to a more comfort food menu, because at that time people were living in a lot of uncertainty. And they were afraid. '08, what happened. Everybody that's going to see this knows what happened in '08.
Right, exactly.
Even though we want to forget it, right?
Right, yes.
So that's when we switched and went to like meatloafs and braised ribs and brought our price point down and really tried to create an environment that was soothing and safe and really welcoming and nurturing to our guests, because so many of them were going through layoffs and seeing their 401ks drop through the floor and the housing market and everything else. And so we kind of stuck with that. I think food for me has always meant comfort.
Right.
And so even here at the getting to the golf course, which was a process through the city of San Mateo, and we were awarded the contract to be the food operator here almost 4 years ago. And my background in catering and running a banquet room at our first Hysteria, had a banquet room in the hotel. I don't know if you remember that. We used to have Good Morning
I do remember
San Mateo
that.
meetings there, right?
Right.
And so I think the combination of that experience that I had and my desire to really get back into the party business, because that was my first love, always has been my love. I do love the restaurant business, but I really love the party business.
Okay.
So anyway, that's like really in a very, I think, short period of time how I spanned 30 years and got from real estate into what I'm doing now.
Okay, that's a good backstory. So one of my prepared question here is what is, I know what's special about Par 3 because, as you know, I just came out of a Rotary meeting. We meet here every Thursday. Love the food there. You've got some tremendous waiters and waitstaff, waiters and waitresses here. But tell me, what do you think is special about Par 3, about your restaurant?
I would say that what's special about this place, meaning this building and where it sits, is that guests that come out here, whether they're coming to play golf, first let's just talk about the golfers. It's very rare for a restaurant to get the kind of regulars you get being out here. And when you have regulars, everybody gets to know everybody. And it becomes a super welcoming environment. Very friendly, where I mean, literally it sounds like Cheers where everybody knows your name. It sounds corny, and yet that's how it is out here. And the vibe, because of that, because it's initiated of golfers coming out to have fun, the energy level is that fun, relaxed atmosphere or vibe in the restaurant. And so I think that is what has attracted non-golfers, not just the food, but just the very welcoming. I get that a lot, not only in reviews, but when people pull me aside to talk to me about the restaurant or the host or like you mentioned, our wait staff in the banquets, is how friendly everybody is and how welcoming everybody is. And I think it's a win-win because the staff feeds off the guests and the guests feed off the staff, and everybody out here, and it sounds corny, but everybody out here is in a good mood. They're out relaxing, having fun, enjoying this view.
I know, it's incredible.
Not having to fight for parking. And I think you're starting your time with us in a relaxed space because you're not fighting for going around a block looking for parking like so often happened to us on 3rd Avenue. So I think that it's the overall vibe. The food, I think, is really good. Our staff is on point when it comes to execution. I would say that, my ratings all across the board with regards to Par 3 have never been better in any of my restaurants than they are here.
Cool.
So I think that's awesome.
Right. We definitely love them.
It's a great staff that's executing in there.
Okay. So, well, thank you for that, Alicia. Next question I've got is, what is your best dish? And before you tell me, you serve salmon a lot here. I guess it's baked salmon. I absolutely love that. That's so my favorite dish. But you tell me that there's actually things that are a lot better than that here.
Well, I think people ask me that all the time. Hey, Alicia, what do you love best on the menu? And I say to them, it's like my son's asking me, who's your favorite, Mom? Who's your favorite?
Right.
And I always say I don't have a favorite. And well, to my kids at least, I do.
Okay. Right.
And I think it really just depends on the season. I mean, right now, for example, we're just finishing up our harvest menu and going into winter. And my favorite thing on the menu right now is the ginger pumpkin soup. And it's a soup we've made for years. But for some reason this year the pumpkins are insane, the flavor.
Oh, wow.
So it kind of varies. I think for me, when I talk about favorites, it's I really love layering flavors, and also the two things, layering flavors and putting twists on classics. So those two things are like my favorite. So we have it's kind of like a sushi inspired salmon dish that we have right now. It's on a panko crusted rice cake, so you get that kind of sushi element to it. The salmon is marinated in a very similar flavor profile as you would find on a sushi dish or a Japanese dish, and then it comes with a pickled cucumber slaw on the top. And so you really get this kind of very Asian kind of fun flavor but it's not just a bite of sushi. So I think those kinds of things. And then I have something that's very simple, like a meatloaf, and I think it's one of the best meatloaves. My mom's recipe. It's one I've done for 30 years, and they're very different dishes, and yet I like them for some of the same reasons. One is kind of a takeoff on a classic, and one is layering of flavors, which is the meatloaf has all these different elements to it. So, yeah, I mean, those might not be our most popular dishes, but they are definitely two of my favorites.
Well, and my wife absolutely loves your meatloaf.
Okay.
So when she's been here or even at your other restaurants,
Right.
she loved the meatloaf.
Yeah.
So and she's very, very picky. So
Good.
that's definitely a good one.
Awesome.
Now, you sent me some pictures
Right.
yesterday. Those will be, for those of you watching this, we will put those into the video somehow. I don't know how it's going to end up because we're just filming this now, but they will be on there. So we'll feature some of your
Right.
favorite dishes, and then we'll do a link to the
Okay.
to your menu here.
Great.
So.
Awesome.
I put this down, and maybe this is redundant, but what are the benefits of the Coyote Point Golf Course? Maybe you mentioned this before, but you said something like 120 acres of lush green, being next to Coyote Point Park, things like that, easy access from the freeway,
Right.
parking.
Yeah, I think also the one thing I don't know if I said specifically is that it really feels like an escape. I know there's something about like getaway, but when you can truly escape, and not that everybody needs an escape from what happens on the other side of 101.
Right.
However, when you can in 5 minutes go from racing down El Camino to being here, where if you're a plane watcher like I was when I was a kid, my dad used to take me out to SFO to watch the planes land.
Right. Okay.
So some people really love that. They sit on the patio. We have a beautiful outside patio that's been expanded since COVID. So just to come and look at the nature. I mean, we have geese. Obviously, everybody in San Mateo,
Right.
Foster
Right.
City has
I don't
geese.
see any out there now, but
Yeah,
they're somewhere.
and there's also once in a while, there's the occasional possum or fox, or this is wildlife out here. So it really has a very, if you need some nature and you don't have a half an hour, 45 minutes to drive to Woodside or Half Moon Bay, you're going to get a lot of nature out here, which I think for all of us we can use more of.
Right.
Really.
Well, I was sitting right there in that room there a few years ago. I think it was an evening Rotary thing, and there was a family of raccoons that came out. And I think they were even looking in the window. So that's kind of a neat. You don't get that in many restaurants.
No.
Yeah. So we're shooting this mid-January 2023. You sent me a list of the special events in February. Do you want to go over those, or do you want me to read this off?
You can read them off, or we can just talk about the kinds of things that we do out here, whatever you want.
Well, okay. So the things you gave to me, you said February 1st, new menu special.
Correct.
So what are you changing your whole menu then?
Well, what we do is we typically change anywhere from 6 to 12 items 5 times a year. So my seasons are the reason why I have 5 instead of 4 is I break summer into 2 seasons, an early summer and a late summer, because the produce is very different from June to September.
Okay.
So that's why there's 5 seasons instead of 4. So we're going into winter, which this one will probably have about 8 to 10 changes on it. Some of them are small changes, some of them are completely new entrees, some of them are tweaks on existing items, but this one will probably be, will have more changes than most.
Okay.
So,
yeah. So that's good. And February 12th, you said here, Super Bowl watch party, and I guess it depended upon the 49ers.
Right. Well, we would like to have a Super Bowl watch party here. We've debated about it for a couple of years. This year, we actually put in 6 new high definition TVs, some pretty large TVs in the restaurant and in the bar. And so we've become more sports, people come out here for sports now. And so we're seriously considering having this watch party. We'd really like to do it at the Niners. We just think it would be more fun if the Niners are in it. So that one's still to be determined. And we'll wait until Sunday to announce that for sure.
We're filming this on Thursday, and so I guess we'll see you in just a few days.
Okay.
February 14th, Valentine's dinner special. Anything special you want to say about that?
Well, typically I do an aphrodisiac menu. So it's 4 courses, and then each course has usually 2 options, and there's some aphrodisiac aspect to each course. Okay. So we'll be doing that on Valentine's night.
So that's very appropriate for Valentine's Day. Okay. February 21st, the Mardi Gras special menu.
Yep. So we've done, in the past, which I'll probably do this time, we've done shrimp poor boy sliders. I always do jambalaya. It's a
Okay.
very popular dish, and it's reminiscent of New Orleans. And then beignets.
Oh,
So those
yes,
are
okay.
like if I'm going to do 3 courses, that's typically what I do, and it's usually available at lunch and at dinner.
Okay, that's good. And then some ongoing things. You say live music every Saturday night, 5:30 to 8:30.
Yep.
Give me an idea what kind of bands you have.
So right now on Saturdays we're doing it's a solo performer with some sort of instrument. Typically they either have a keyboard or they have a guitar, electric guitar, and they sing to background tracks.
Okay.
So it's really fun. When the weather's nice, we do it on the patio. It's covered with a tent, and people, there's area for people to dance. If it's a cooler evening, we'll bring it inside and they'll play inside. And sometimes we'll get anywhere from 15 to 20 people on the dance floor, which is sweet.
Okay.
I mean, and in the summertime it's packed inside
Right.
and outside.
Right.
Winter's a little different, and yet we're still getting people out here. So it's fun, and it's just another opportunity to do something a little different.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, that's good. And then the final thing I wanted to mention, or you asked me to mention, happy hour Monday through Thursday, 5:30 to 7:30. What, drink specials?
Yeah,
or?
we have drink specials, we have draft specials, well, cocktail and wine specials, and then we have about 8. I think it's about 8 things on our happy hour menu.
Okay.
So it's just an opportunity. I always think of happy hour as a way to introduce a guest to a location,
Right.
because it's a small investment. And they can check it out. They can check out the vibe and see if it's good for them, if it feels like a good fit. Then they'll come back and make what I would consider an investment, which is come with a couple of friends, have dinner. But at least a happy hour gives them the opportunity to take a look at the food, meet some of the staff, see if it feels like a good spot for them.
Right. Okay, cool. And for those of you who would, I don't know if you hear it in the background, but we have an airplane coming into SFO.
Yeah.
That's one of the neat things about, you don't hear it really when you're inside. Outside, you notice it a little bit, but
Right.
it's one of the neat features of this area is that you can watch the planes coming in. Now, I know you also have a pretty good-sized banquet room.
Yes.
How many people can you accommodate?
Well, I mean, the one thing that's also really nice about this space is that it's really versatile and flexible. So we can do a party as small as, say, 25, because the banquet room can be divided.
Right.
If we're using just the banquet room itself, once it's all opened up, we can do 200 to 250. But there is a wall that separates the restaurant from the banquet room that slides. So the largest party so far we've had was about 600.
Okay.
And that went from this private patio, which is on the banquet side, all the way to the other the other patio, which is on the restaurant side. And of course, that's more of a cocktail style party,
Right.
not a sit-down dinner. But that's what I mean about versatility. There's, and then we also have this whole grass area on this other side that we do wedding ceremonies on.
Okay.
But it can
all right.
also be used as an extension of the party. So we set up games like cornhole and giant
That's so fun.
Jenga and
Okay.
things like that. And it really adds to the dynamics of a party to have, some additional space. And also the thing that's really been beneficial during COVID is we do have so much outside space.
Oh, yes, that's good.
So
Right.
we have a lot of parties where guests still want to be able to have some guests sit outside because they're just not comfortable, depending on where we are with this COVID, up and down cycle,
Right.
that they want to have that flexibility of having outside space.
And
So-
my guess would be this, as far as total space, you're probably one of the biggest venues in the Bay Area, right? Or at least on the peninsula.
Well, we can be, if you're looking for a sit-down, hotels are always going to be your bet for like a really large function. But for something that's more like a flowing and moving kind of party, cocktail with food stations or things like that, I would say that I would consider this an unusual space because it's not a traditional hotel, that this is probably one of the biggest, at least on this side of the peninsula.
Right.
Okay. So yeah.
All right. Now, there's always. Well, actually, before I even get to this question, I probably should mention in your banquet area, you've got some really good AV equipment too,
Yes.
right? So if someone wanted to have a presentation, sound system, and things like that, you've got all that here.
Right, we do. We have a full screen. We have an overhead projector. We actually have another, auxiliary one. So if someone needs two set up in a room, depending on the size of the function, we have that. We're actually looking at upgrading our AV even greater to add more, wireless mics and things like that to our package.
Right.
And that will be coming this year. But we do have speakers. We have wireless speakers. We have all of those things.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so that's good. So just the thought I had is, if you take all the AV equipment, you take your giant Jenga, you take the cornhole. I mean, that almost sounds to me like some of the hip kind of tech companies where, a lot of younger people really want a nice display and some cool games. It seems like it would lend itself to something like that.
Well, and thank you for that, by the way. I appreciate you picking up on that. And I think it is. Listen, similar to my demographic at 3, when my restaurant was over on 3rd Avenue, we appealed to the 20-somethings to the 80-somethings with regards to parties as well. I met a gentleman this morning who's having his wife's 80th birthday here. We're done 30th birthdays and weddings, and so I think that there's some appeal for all ages. But this for tech, I think, is great because we are working with the golf course on doing team building opportunities.
Oh, right. Okay.
So forget what you can do here on this property, but then utilizing Coyote Point Park as well for team building activities. So we do have a couple companies that we work with that will do team building exercises with staff or with teams. So that is also another opportunity to think about.
Oh, cool.
Out here.
Cool. And then the last thing, every business owner has some really funny, embarrassing story, just something that some story that just sticks in your head that isn't so embarrassing you don't want it on camera.
Right.
But what would be a good story like that?
Oh gosh, so many years of craziness that's happened in the restaurants. Let me think of something that I won't get into trouble with.
Okay, don't name names.
I won't name names.
I wasn't there. Okay.
I guess for me, what really comes to mind isn't necessarily funny or awkward. It's really being present in someone's very special moment. I've been witness to many engagements, cried along with the people sitting around the future bride being proposed to. Those are the memories, honestly,
right,
that stick more to me. There have been a couple very somber events out here, celebrations of life for young people, and again, witnessing that, but having a parent come to you and say something like, "Thank you for making an unbelievably difficult day possible."
Right.
Like, thank you for what you contributed so that we were able to handle this day today. I guess for me, those are the memories that really stick with me. I know that there's been funny ones too, but I'm kind of a sentimentalist.
Right.
So that is really the joy for me about this, whether it's the party side or the restaurant side, is truly witnessing. One other memory that I'm just going to share really quick. There was a gentleman. He was a former pastor here in San Mateo. Celebrated his 100th birthday in the restaurant.
Oh, wow.
And he had family come from all over the country. And they got up and they sang Stevie Wonder's version of Happy Birthday. I'm going to get choked up
Really?
now. There wasn't a dry eye in the restaurant.
Oh, wow.
Guests of the birthday man and the guests in the restaurant. Those are the moments that make this business almost everlasting for me, truly.
Oh, wow.
It's so sweet to see that. How often do you get to peek into someone's life like that?
That's a good point.
It really is, and we get to do it every day.
Right.
And become friends with people we would never meet in a million years.
Right.
And that is such a joy, truly.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. Well, I appreciate. I know you're very busy. You're the lead chef here too, right?
Well, I'm the creative chef.
Creative
yes.
chef.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know you're very
working
busy.
on my new menu
Are
right
you
now.
okay?
I'm very full because I've been tasting food all day.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. Alicia Petrakis, par 3 at let's see, let me get this right. Par 3. Excuse me. Yeah, par 3 at
Poplar Creek.
Yeah. Which is in Coyote Point. So.
And I would just like to say thank you to you, Chris, as well. And I just, being, on the chamber board with you all those years, seeing how you always are up on stage for PAL or any opportunity you can to give of yourself to this community, I find to be memorable is an insignificant word, but truly memorable. I mean, you wherever you turn. I mean, I so miss your head for real estate
Really? Okay.
car because it just that's how I originally got to meet you. Was
Right.
before I even met you, I saw that car, and you really are a man for this community, and I appreciate you doing this. And you know, I mean that. That's not for the cameras, but that's you can if you want. But I just want you to know that truly, I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this camera is going to do a quick loop just so that everybody watching this can get a full view of what this facility is like. Of course, the only way to really experience it is to actually stop by here, have lunch, take a walk around, maybe walk down to Coyote Point there. But I'm going to show you a little video. And Chris Eckert, Alicia Petrakis signing off.
Thank you.